Hey guys, it's another video and it's only been 3.5, 4 weeks, 4 weeks. Yeah, so a lot less than the last time. Just wanted to give a quick update on what I'm working on the Loadstar, and I'm sorry for those sweet reflections, but I destroyed the screen on my phone, so it's a little cracked. Anyway, so here is, I've been working on the cab a lot. Whole bunch of stuff on the cab, tiny bit on the chassis stuff, but mostly the cab, trying to get this thing in paint so that it can go onto this chassis here shortly. So we're moving towards that pretty quick now, so here we go. Chassis started trying to get the front U-joint off, obviously without success. Apparently my bottle jack is at work. I'm going to bring that home so I can try to use the weight of the truck to get that off, because I don't feel like buying a $300 press tool. Also finally decided to cut the, what is this? The bracket, I guess you want to call it, for the rear markers, the triple markers in the center. It's 3/8 C channel, so I really didn't feel like trying to hole saw that. I also didn't feel like taking it somewhere to have it drilled, so I just torched it. It worked pretty well. So it's ready for primer. Then on the cab, obviously, if you look at it here, we've got mud on the cab. So today's project is sanding and probably remudding. But we got all the lettering off, rust mortared. Well, first sanded down everywhere there was even a hint of surface rust or anything. Took flap wheel to that, got it down to steel, rust mortared all the bare steel, potential rust areas, and yeah, mudded it. So, I mean, it looks like a lot of mud right now, but the vast majority of this, other than the weld around the cab roof seam, everything else is a skim coat, just to really just to feather out my flap wheel marks more than anything. Obviously, the body did have a few dents, mostly on the driver's side here and there. Onto the interior, I've done a bunch of work in here. I don't have it installed right now, but the important part is that the doghouse got installed. It fits, it lashes, it seals. Well, sort of, once I put the new seal on it, well. I had to actually notch the dashboard here. As I checked, I went back out to the Loadstar cab and checked it out, and it does in fact have a notch in exactly that place. So I had to cut that out, unfortunately, after I had painted everything, but we're going to put some sort of a trim on that to clean that back up. But otherwise, doghouse does go on. I did find out in the course of what I was doing with the doghouse work that my idea for that bench seat to go all the way across and just kind of have a notch out for the stick shift there, it wasn't going to work. For one thing, it was going to cause me to have to notch the stick. I really didn't feel like doing that. It also was going to not be strong enough because it was already bending, the seat frame was. So we nixed the idea of having that bench go all the way across. I'm still going to have the seat back go all the way across. I can just use the factory, or the original one out of the Loadstar. So instead, you can see these seat brackets I built. We just cut out the last of that all the way across. Obviously, what that does do is it makes the seat bases be rigid. They no longer can adjust forward. But this is a tiny cab, and I'm 6'4". I don't need it to go forward, so I don't think my wife is ever going to drive this truck. So we're okay with it not sliding. So got that all welded up, primed and painted. It actually gives a little more support to the floor, to be honest with you. Kind of pulls everything together, so I don't entirely mind it. Got the dump lever installed. I think I should have enough clearance there for the cable itself to come up and be able to be attached at that point. It's real close to the trans, but I think we've got enough. Got the heater box and the, I won't show you because it's dark and you can't see much up there anyway, but the heater box and the ductwork all installed back up in the dash. Heater box I actually had painted previously. Took it all apart and painted it. Well, I didn't take it apart, I just painted it. But before I put in, I had for once in my life, the forethought to test it, and the motor didn't work. So I don't have any pictures of it, but I took it all apart. Literally had to crack the motor in half, cleaned it. It was basically flash rusted. Cleaned it up, lubricated everything that needed lubrication, and it works great now. So that's done. The wiper transmission is all installed. The air lines are even on the wiper motor itself. This involves some going back and forth. Don't ask me why, but International Harvester in their infinite wisdom decided that a 67 Loadstar and a 71 Fleetstar that use the same cab were going to use different diameter wiper arm heads. So, and the transmission is different, only slightly. I mean, it's the same length, but the connection points, basically the pivot points, were different. So, long story short, some creativity and some 1/4 bolts, and everything works the way it should. And these zip ties are just to keep those from falling back down into the inner dash while paint goes on bodywork, and then we'll put the trim back on and everything will be good to go. This vent intake galley here that you see is going to go away. I'm going to show you what we're going to do here. I think this is going to, this isn't 100% yet, but we're going to take this piece of flapping, you can see right there, and we're going to seal it and we'll put it on. Then we're going to install the factory cover back over it, screw it down, and like I said, silicone it, seal it. Because that is one of the biggest problems with these trucks. If you look, rainwater would come down in here. And if you look, that slopes down. On the driver's side here, it slopes down to a manual vent location. On the passenger side, it slopes down to the heater box, to the intake. And that's probably why it all rusted out. And it's also why the floorboards on these trucks rusted out so bad. Just a really poor design. It should have obviously had, it needed to go down to a drain point and then notch back up, and it would have been fine. I mean, literally like a simple 1/4 inch notch, but it doesn't. It's a smooth slope the whole way. So at any rate, so we got a heater box on. That's all installed, ready to go. Wiper system's done. Really, the firewall is prepped, ready, to do its thing. What else? We did seats. We did a doghouse. Oh, PTO cable got installed over here. And I ditched the radio. Radio's no more. It wasn't ever going to work. I didn't feel like sourcing a speaker and trying to wedge the speaker up in there along with the ductwork. I was missing the knobs, which are integral for holding the faceplate on. And it's just an AM radio. It was kind of just it's period correct and it looked cool, but it wasn't going to do anything. And I wasn't going to go spend money trying to source knobs, and when I had a perfectly good block-off plate that was in the Loadstar originally. So we're back to being no radio. All we want to hear is 671 noises when we drive this truck anyway. Did install, it's aftermarket, this is new, so it doesn't look as period correct as I'd like, but whatever. It's the accurate Fuller 10-speed shift pattern. Did some rivets, because I don't know, I thought it would look okay. I guess it does. That's where the cab is. So today we are going to seats. That's the seats. Put the new bracket, end bracket basically. Did some drilling, and there's some bolts over in the seat frame so that locates exactly like it did from the factory on the other end. It actually wedges in, both sides fit in really nice and tight. Got holes drilled here so when it gets reupholstered, the hog rings can go back in and tie everything back down on that new end. So those are ready for upholstery, literally painted and done. So we're gonna be sanding today, lots and lots of sanding. Side note, I hate bodywork. Maybe I'll do some, whatever you call it, fast motion. I can't remember the word I'm looking for. Time lapse. There you go. Some time lapse video of sanding, and I don't have it out here because I don't leave the heat on in the barn all night long. But I do have my using Nason products. So I've got my epoxy primer sealer that's going to go right on over top of this bodywork. I doubt I'm going to get to that today. If I could, then I'd like to, but the nice thing would be is if I get this sanded and I wait till the weekend to shoot the primer sealer, if I recoat with my base coat within 24 hours, I don't have to sand. And I would love to not have to sand my primer sealer. So I think we're going to just try to get everything sanded as best we can today, then have it ready to shoot for next weekend, and that way then I can do the primer sealer on Saturday, and then on Sunday I can come out with no sanding and shoot my base coat, followed up by my clear coat, and this bad boy will be done. Worst case, if it's not next weekend, it'll be the one after. But so within 2 weeks, this cab should be ready to get craned onto that chassis. The only other things I really want to do beforehand is get the airlines ran to the shifter. I bought them, screwed up, and listened to the guy at the parts store and got the slightly wrong diameter. So the nut and ferrules, basically the ferrules, these guys, the ferrules won't go over that size tubing. So gotta do that, get those handled. But got my to-do list here, and the beautiful thing is we've got some X's on it and some half X's. So we're getting there. Okay guys, well the bodywork is, well, it's far from done, but the hard part is over with, the mud is over with, and the initial sand. So I got a few things I want to show you. We'll show you the truck and talk about a few other things. So just a minute. So I started the day, with my DA, and mud was dry, and was going to hit it with this 180 grit, and then wanted to move up to 220 and then 400, and I've got a block and over here and some hand sandpaper for blocking it out and doing small areas. And the 180 was a joke. I don't know why I thought 180 was going to work. So 40 minutes later, a trip to the store because I live in the boonies, and we got some 40 grit, and that made life a whole lot easier. Real quick before I go to the truck too, forgot about some little doodads I picked up. This is the profile of the seal I got for the doghouse. I hope it works. I've got to obviously glue it in, but it's real close to the old one, so I think that'll work. And got some cool new wiper blades. So someone had put 15-inch refills into the original blades. These are the old factory 12s, so as much as they're not going to clear as much glass, I want it to be original, so 12-inch wipers it is. Alright, so enough BS. The truck. Here is where it sits right now. I'm actually really happy with how this came out. This little patch here is perfect. Obviously you can see the swirl marks. This is 40 grit. I've still got to do, sand the whole entire truck now, not just the mud areas, but all the old paint, and get everything down to 400 by the time it's said and done. But that came out great. This roof line, it's still not perfect inside the channel, but quite frankly, inside that channel originally, you can actually still see, camera probably won't pick it up, but anyway, this had, I don't know, it was almost like it felt like the consistency of body filler, but I'm gonna have seam sealer in there. So that's all gonna get filled with seam sealer up to where that gap you can see is at the bottom of my weld. So that'll go away and get painted and cleaned up, but literally this, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but this is a pretty smooth line transitioning from that weld up to the roof. Really couldn't be a whole lot happier with it for what it is and for what my bodywork skills are. The roof isn't perfect. Kind of see, I mean, it's not bad at all, but there is a little bit of a ripple in the roof where I heated it. I got it too hot when I welded the patches in, and it torqued it. I got it as straight as I can, but no one's gonna see the damn roof anyway, right? Back line on that weld came out pretty good too. We had a dent right here. It came out pretty good. This is the only other area that I'm really not thrilled with. This it's hard to see, but anyway, this transition line right here is slightly rough because I had a weld along that transition. I should have welded higher up, but that would have been bead rolling, and it's the bottom of the cab, right? This isn't gonna be. I mean, it's gonna be a show truck, but not a show. This isn't. You know, I don't know. It's not made for TV, I guess. Just put it that way. So anyway, everything came out great. I think what else we had, a couple other patch areas. I had a weld right here in the top of the door where there was a crack. That came out really nice. All the filling down on this door from where I had, you can see where it left some of those, where those flap wheel marks are from trying to get the old vinyl lettering off. Everything came out great except for one spot. This door in general. I've kind of gotten to the point where I don't think this door is going to stay on the truck. I can't bring myself to do all this work, spend all this money on prep and paint and the whole truck in general, and not replace it. It's just too far gone. From originally, what I surmise happened was a tree came down and fell on the Loadstar roof right here. Hence why we had to do the roof transplant. I think that tree rolled off, and if I had the mirrors right here, you'd see this mirror bracket where it came off right here. Those were bent down in a U. And so when that tree hit that mirror bracket, it pulled this door out, rolled it. That's why it's all tweaked all through here. If you could feel what my finger's feeling, it's, I can't, the metal's bent. Quite frankly, the door didn't seal very well either, even with, weather stripping on it. And then you can probably see it if I go along this line. Yeah, there you can. You can see that divot right there. I can't get that pulled out. So that's kind of not fixable. And then we go to down here, same thing. This patch down here, because the inner part of the door is so far rusted out, this is welded in and it's new steel on the outside, but it's not attached to the rest of the door, and there's nothing there to weld to. Same thing, this whole door, it's kind of poppy. You can see there's a dish right where all that mud is. And if I push from the inside, push it out, this door just is probably never going to be right. It's seen the end of its life. So it's kind of, the moral of the story is, this project started as buying a 67 Loadstar farm truck to be, kind of fix it up, get it cleaned up and run it again and be a kind of a half resto toy. And then my OCD, my inability to have something that doesn't look perfect took over, and we were going to do more work to it. And then, of course, I found the Fleet Star and wanted to swap do a driveline swap into this thing. And, we ended up doing basically a frame off on it. It's just snowballed into something huge. And while, yes, I want it to be as perfect as possible, there's also comes a point where you have to just say stop, because I don't have an unlimited budget. I have a pretty tight budget, to be honest with you. But I think I can get this door for about $100. Last year, it was over a year ago now, late 2019, my wife and I went up to, there's a junkyard up in the northwest part of Michigan. I can't remember the name of the place, to be honest with you, but it's a hole in the wall. It's probably the coolest junkyard you will ever see. It is full of old trucks, anything from the 50s through the early 90s mostly. There's some newer stuff, but very, very little. I counted when we were there, there's at least 40 Loadstars sitting there. Most of them are pretty well rusted out, but I know I can find a door in good shape. When I went up the last time, I got 2 fenders and a whole bunch of trim parts, a step, a whole bunch of odds and ends, basically a truck bed full of parts for $250. So I'm thinking he'll probably charge me $100 for one of these doors. So for $100, I don't think it makes any sense to keep this door in the truck. So the goal is going to be that I'm going to maybe take the day off on Friday, go up and get myself a door, get back Friday afternoon, and get some single stage shot on the jambs of that door, and then spend Saturday morning finishing the bodywork. Hopefully I can shoot my primer sealer by Saturday afternoon, and then base clear on Sunday. So I am pumped. We're gonna get this thing in black, and then hopefully that means like the following weekend after that, we're lifting it onto the cab. So and I'll try to maybe get a few pictures or video of when I go up to the junkyard, because you guys would be pretty impressed with that place. If you like the content of these videos and old trucks like this, I mean, it's amazing. It's literally every truck that was on the road when I was a kid that made me want to do shit like this. So at any rate, that's it. That's where we stand, and try to keep you updated. Thanks for watching, guys.